Hello.
Hello, Seamus.
Hi, Connor. Just give me a moment. I'll be with you. I just have to. Will means having trouble finding the link, so I don't know what happened to her. I presume you did you come into Eventbrite or not?
Yeah, so I clicked on Eventbrite and that brought me to a page, and near the bottom of the page there was a role and duties of expert witness minus Zoom link.
Yeah.
And I clicked on that and that took me straight here.
That's it, yeah. So I don't know. She says anyway. I've sent her the direct Zoom link as well by email. So we've had a bit of toing and froing, but we're there, and we'll.
Excellent. So I'm trying to think of anything you need to know. You've got that recording, do you?
I think I have. No, I haven't done very much. Hi, John.
Hello.
Hi, John.
I'm Connor Sweeney. Thanks very much for agreeing to give this talk.
Not at all, Connor. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks.
Good.
Connor is our president, John, and I'm the secretary, as you probably know at this stage.
Yeah. Very good, Connor. Thank you.
So we're just trying to just talk through some of the preparations. Do you have any videos or anything to show, John?
I have a slideshow.
That's grand, but you don't have any actual video media or anything, do you?
No.
I've just got a glass of wine delivered in from the side door.
I'm going to keep my head clear.
Well, that's the difference between the speaker and the audience, you see.
That's right. It's okay. I might have one later if I survive, you know?
Of course, we'd buy you one, except, unfortunately, we're not there.
So, Connor, just while we're here now, so when I want just John to share his screen, what do I have to do for that?
Oh yeah, so we could do that now. So if you're near the bottom, Seamus, if you scroll near the bottom or move your mouse near the bottom, there should be a participants button.
Yes.
You click on that, you'll get a list of participants on the side.
Yeah.
If you could go hover over John Garrett's name,
yeah,
and there should be a little blue button that comes up. If you click on that, it'll give you options. And one of them is make co-host.
Make co-host. Done.
Great. So now that's always a good idea to do, because that way, if your connection gets a little bit loose, at least John will just carry on regardless. He's not piggybacking on you. And that also means that John will be able to share any slides or videos or anything he has.
Yeah. Can I try that? So no.
Yep, great. Work away there, John. Seamus, another thing, when this is recording, I'm trying to remember, I think it records to the cloud. So I'll be able to download and edit the video afterwards to get it ready.
Okay. But, yeah, we have that, Joe. I can see it, John. I can see your presentation now. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if I want to make that slideshow.
Yeah, so go into full screen and see what happens.
How's that?
That looks super. Now, Seamus, when we're in full screen like this, you should have the chat open on the side of your screen. So if you click on the chat button on the bottom, it'll bring up the chat. There's nothing there. I'll type something in.
Yeah. Okay.
Because you want to keep an eye on what people are saying during the talk.
Okay. Sure, yeah.
So that'll be coming in through the chat.
Will I leave that up there now, just as it is?
Yes, you can leave that up. I think that's okay.
That's a good idea. No
Yeah,
harm.
yeah.
Thank you.
I see Wilhelmine Wilhelmine, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, I'm here. Yep.
Oh,
Hello.
very good.
Hello,
Okay.
everyone. I'll just, hello.
Hey, Wilhelmine.
Hi, guys. Can you see me there? Is that
I can.
okay? Yep.
Lovely
Okay.
background.
So, yeah, that's Malin Head.
You're on a field trip, are you?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you. I'll just stop the screen again, and then I'll be ready for the panel discussion afterwards.
I might
Right.
actually make Wilhelmine a co-host as well. Just that will make it easier. I have done that. I have done that actually. So that
Yeah.
means, yeah, that even without me, it can carry on.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. So
Well, would you like me to keep my camera on?
well, if you can switch it on, not while John was talking, but so
Sure,
the
sure.
form, just to go through it, I'll introduce John. John will give his talk. Then I will kind of say, put this all into context of meteorology. I'm going to have an interaction with Wilhelmine. We'll feel, and I'll introduce you. I presume most people will know who you are, but I will say who you are anyway. So I'll establish your credentials in the lingo, and then at that stage, maybe if you could or turn your video back on,
Sure,
so
sure.
that people
Yeah.
can see while I'm speaking to you, if they would want to, and then I'll just run you through kind of the as we discussed, the meteorological process of what to do a report, and then you know, I'll ask you a few questions, most of which you know, and a few that you won't. Nothing will
Right.
surprise you.
Okay.
Okay. And
Can you hear me okay? Is
I
my...
can hear you
Yeah,
perfectly.
yeah, okay.
Yeah,
That's
great.
grand. Yeah, thank you.
And
Okay.
then we will just throw it open for a general discussion. So I'd say, John, you'll be about 20, 25 minutes, something like that.
Yeah.
We might chat with you, it'll be maybe 5 to 10 minutes, and then we'll have 5 to 10, 40 to 45 minutes should see, depending on the chats, of course, how many questions people ask. And I have a really nice question in case nobody asks a
Okay.
question. Because I'm
Excellent.
the host,
Excellent. Yeah.
I'm sharing it. I would have to have a few questions, really, wouldn't I?
Very good. Okay. Thank you.
Will you give me a nod with a minute to go or something like that, or what? would
Yeah,
you-
I suppose, Connor, is there a way, can I send, is there any way of me sending John a signal that he's running, that his time is up?
You can, if you go to the chat, when you got your chat button.
Or I can just chat to him.
Yeah, what you do is you go to chat, and instead of going to everyone, you just click on 2 and you go down to John Garrett, click on him and just type in something like 1 minute left.
Yeah,
And John, I don't know if you've given many Zoom talks before, but you'll see a little sign coming up saying you've got a chat thing from Seamus. You won't actually have to read it. You'll just know that that's your 1 minute counter then.
You know what I can do is I can put on a timer here.
Yeah, well, I have a clock here anyway, so
Okay.
I mean,
So does Wilhelmine. There'll be clocks all over the place. I don't think it's a guideline more than anything strict, John.
Yeah.
It's just really to avoid, a 20-minute talk turning into 2-hour talk.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, to be honest, John, after 25 minutes, but I'll probably wait about 25 minutes before I would even say, or certainly 20 minutes, and I'll know how many slides you have. How many slides? 28 or 29, I think.
Yeah, there's about 31 slides, but I mean, there's nothing written on. There's only a sentence on a couple of them.
Okay. Yes. No. I will know how near to the end you're getting. That's what I'm saying. So I'll be able to judge whether or not you need to kind of speed it up or not. But as I said, we're not really under any real time constraints. It's just that we just like keep it a little bit compact. That
well, it's hard to hold a concentration beyond that time anyway.
Well, that's why we were suggesting.
I'm just popping out, Seamus. I'll be back in a few minutes. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Connor.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that, Seamus.
That's okay. That's good. So what we'll do, we'll wait until people. There were I think somewhere in the mid-50s people registered. So
Oh, that's fabulous.
yeah, we usually lose about a third of those by the time the evening comes because
Yeah.
people would have been registering over any time over the last few weeks. So
Yeah.
we give them. Well, I have to say, timing has been very good. Previously, when it's 7 o'clock, and people come on by a couple of minutes past 7, we're usually ready to roll. So
Yes.
yeah, it works. It's been working quite well for us, really. So there you go.
I'm gone very quiet.
It is, yeah. I see John Doyle. I see you there. How are you? Just an old colleague of mine.
I can't see myself, but I can see you all right.
It's great to
Hello,
see you,
John.
Yeah.
Hey,
So
I'm in-
John Garrett,
interested
for many
in
years,
that.
John Doyle, who's just below you on the screen there. John was, I would say, for at least 10 years, our main person in preparing reports and attending at court. So
I
it's
was
great.
only about 8 years.
8 years.
After I retired.
So, yeah, with a bit of luck, I might learn a thing or two from you. So, John,
Sorry?
with a bit of luck, I might learn a thing or two from you.
No, long ago now. It's a dim and distant memory.
Yes.
I'm sure there's more ways of obtaining information now than there was when I was doing it.
Yeah. I think they're trying to streamline the duties of the expert witness much more now, and to make sure that people understand what their role is,
Well, I think, again, a lot of people, that's why I think it'd be really interesting that a lot of people just don't know that there is such an official concept as an expert witness, because they see the court case and they see this and they just assume, oh, you're just called to court. But so that's why I think it's really interesting. And as you were saying, like this stuff applies not just even to science or to professions that people are in. It applies to everyday life as well. So it's a good general topic as well for people to be aware of. So I think, see, the people are beginning to join in now. So I think, John, we'll go quiet for a while, and I'll just wait until kind of a couple of minutes past 7, and then I will introduce you, and we'll get rolling, if that's okay with you.
Perfect.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because they are going to be judged at that size by the judges. And whilst I think generally we see more
Hi, Seamus, how are you?
All right.
Hi, John.
Hey, Ray. I can't see myself. I can see you.
Oh,
I don't
really?
know what I look like.
Yeah, yeah. I can see you all right.
That's all right.
I can see the speaker as well. Hello, John.
How are things?
Ah, fine, thanks.
Good, good.
Hello,
Yourself?
Ray. How are you? Hello, Ray.
In my day, Mick Mansfield was the expert witness in Met
That's
Éireann.
right. That's right. So, senior counsel. He was in his element, I think. Everyone, he found us through role in life when he started doing that. You know?
Yeah, yeah, he liked it. Yeah.
He did. You know, I mean, most people are doing it as part of their job, but when I did it, I was doing it solely as that. I came back post-retirement
Oh, really?
to do it.
Did you?
So
Yeah.
Tom Sheridan kind of approached me about it, and there was a huge backlog at that stage. They were trying to clear it, and they needed somebody just solely devoted to it. So that stepped into the breach.
So I'll just wait another minute, I think, before we get the show on the road, just in case anybody's a little bit late.
Oh, you're late. It's all right. No, sorry. Wait, it's too late.
Can I just ask everybody to, apart from John Garrett, who's speaking, just to
No, sorry.
mute, or else I will mute you for my troubles. Okay, everybody, I think we will.
No, it's too late.
Right, I'll just mute a few people here and we'll start. Right, okay, everybody, you're all very welcome to the latest Met Society Zoominar, and tonight we have quite a crossover topic, I think, and we need, if people are wondering all about this legal stuff and reports and expert witnesses, all you have to do is look at the news this evening and in the last few days, in fact, where you will see that the biggest shipping lane in the world has been blocked by a ship which has been blown off course by wind. And of course, you can just imagine the legal difficulties which will arise and the number of expert reports that will need to be written about this, about canal design, winds and shipping and all of these things. That just kind of, on a global context, puts into context exactly what we'll be discussing here at a local level. So I'm delighted this evening to be able to welcome John Garrett. John is a chartered engineer and he's a fellow of Engineers Ireland. He's also a director of John T. Garrett and Associates Consulting Engineers. He's a mediator trained by Mediation Forum Ireland and has a diploma in life and business coaching from the European Coaching Institute. He has 35 years in giving experience in court cases and arbitration meetings. And the speciality of John's is training of expert witness provided by his firm. And he has his presentation to Engineers Ireland on training of expert witnesses has been shortlisted for an award. So the structure tonight will be that John will outline in general terms, or maybe very specific terms, the role and duties of the expert witness. Following John's presentation, before we have any questions, I will introduce Wilhelmine Phelan from Met Éireann, who currently prepares and presents a lot of meteorological evidence reports in court cases. I will discuss with her about how John's principles are applied to the world of meteorology, and then we will throw it open and we will have a discussion, a question and answer session. And if you have questions, please, because we're in a Zoom meeting, if you would please use the chat box. I will, and myself and Connor, and maybe a few other, we will be monitoring the questions and we will deal with the questions through the chat box function. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce to John. John, when you're ready, please, away you go.
Thanks very much indeed, Seamus, and thank you to your president and to yourself, Seamus, and to Wilhelmine for this invitation. It's a topic that I have a lot of passion for. I've been giving evidence for the last 35 years, going on 36 years now, And I suppose one message, you know, I'm at a stage in my own career where the message I'd really like to get out is that when you hire an expert witness, you're not hiring a hired gun. You're hiring a thorough professional whose job it is to assist the judge, to assist the court to make a good decision, and to do it in an honest, independent way with unbiased objectivity. And at the opening slide I have there, I put up those three words: honest, independent, and unbiased objectivity, because you want something to anchor you and to kind of constantly remind you that your job is not to represent a one-sided case for the party that instructed you, but rather your overriding duties to the court. So my aim, if this will move for me. No, yeah, sorry. Okay. My aim this evening is to share what I've learned about the role and duties of the expert witness. And I'm going to refer very shortly to a case called the Icarian Reefer and the principles that I would consider the 7 commandments of being an expert witness. And if you stick with those principles, you'll do a pretty good job. I'll come back to it in a minute. Then what level of evidence do they require? Those principles dictate that you should have. What level of investigation is required when you're asked to do a report for a court, and then you're asked to deliver your evidence in court and stand up to robust cross-examination in what is an adversarial system. And then when you take instructions, do you just rely on what you're being told, or how much further should you go? That's something I'd like to address. And what is your role if you suspect fraud and exaggerated claims? Now, I realize this evening's audience is a mix of people, meteorologists, people that have experience in giving evidence in court cases, people that have no experience at all in court cases. But sometimes, you know, people need to engage an expert. And it's important that when people do need to engage an expert on the instructions of their solicitor, if they feel the need arises, that you're not hiring somebody to fight your case. Your expert is not a fighter. Your barrister's job is to fight your case. Your expert's job is to answer questions and to offer an opinion to the judge. And those opinions need to be supported by very good reasons. And I'll talk about all that in a few minutes. Then, so my objectives from your point of view, my hope is that if you are involved in this as a profession, that you'll be able to carry out a thorough investigation within areas of your expertise. And I can't stress how important it is, I can't stress it enough, how important it is to stay within areas of your expertise. Don't slip outside of those areas that you are expert in, and it is something that can happen so easily. Sometimes under cross-examination, people can be asked questions that they're not expert in, and they'll try and answer it. You shouldn't do that. You should just say, look, that's not my expertise, and stay within the areas that you are competent in. Then one of the purposes of my talk is to help you to prepare an honest, independent, objective, and impartial expert report containing well-reasoned professional opinions. And then there will be times when, for one reason or another, you might learn something new about the case, and you could change your mind, right? So you need to be confident, and you need to be prepared to amend your report should anything occur like that causes you to change your mind. And then I'd share a few ideas to help people be confident under cross-examination. So to get back to the Icarian Reefer, this was a case, I have the judgment in my hand. I'm not going to go into it in detail, but it was a case about a ship that ran aground on the 12th of April, 1985. And then a fire broke out, and there was a battle, if you like, a legal battle between the owners of the Icarian Reefer and the insurers. And it is written that the experts had a field day. There was 35 days of evidence of one form or another about valves and stuff like that on the ship. And some of the experts didn't do a very good job. And arising out of that, seven principles were developed, as I call them, and these are my words, nobody else's, 7 commandments for expert witnesses. But the 7 principles are, first of all, expert evidence presented to the court should be seen to be the independent product of the expert, uninfluenced as to form or content by the agencies, can hardly pronounce that word sometimes, of litigation. The second one is that the expert witness should provide independent assistance to the court by way of objective, unbiased opinion. And you know, it's a real privilege to be asked for your opinion in court, because it's quite exceptional that anybody would be allowed to give an opinion in court. And one of the great exceptions is that it is the expert is allowed to give an opinion because of his expertise and to inform the court in areas that the judge hasn't competence in. So the judge wants to be educated by you, and he wants to know that you're reliable and will help him to do a good job. So to provide objective, unbiased opinion in relation to matters within his expertise, and in the High Court should never assume the role of an advocate.
Are you going up? Here's my stone.
I think the
Do you want to check the bedroom?
Can I be heard okay, yeah?
Yeah, John, I've just, any latecomers, I've just muted them if they haven't.
No problem at all. The expert witness in the High Court should never assume the role of an advocate, the role, I should have said role there, not rule, role of an advocate. I think that's a little bit unfortunate that that sentence is put in there, because, you know, there's no difference between the Circuit Court, the High Court, or the District Court when it comes to taking an oath and giving evidence. So the expert witness in any court should never assume the role of an advocate. The expert witness should state the facts or assumption on which his opinion is based, and he should not omit to consider material facts which could detract from his concluded opinion. Sometimes you see experts going into court and they slip into becoming an advocate rather than an expert, and they tend to fight the case. And they can run into trouble very, very easily if they do not consider something in their report and do not consider something when they're giving evidence that could detract from their opinion. For instance, if there was a video for a car accident that was available to an expert, which kind of took from his client's case, if he didn't use that in expressing his opinion and in considering all the facts surrounding the case, he could end up in very serious trouble. An expert witness should make it clear when a particular question or issue falls outside his expertise. And if an expert's opinion is not properly researched because he considers that insufficient data is available, then this must be stated with an indication that the opinion is no more than a provisional one. And in cases where an expert witness who has prepared a report could not assert that the report contained the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth without some qualification, the qualification should be stated in the report. In other words, be prepared to amend your report when further information comes to hand, or if you feel that you haven't got all the facts to help you to reach a conclusion, you should state that and sort of say that, you know, I need further information before I can conclude. And then if after the exchange of reports, an expert witness changes his view on a material matter, having read the other side's expert's report, or for any other reason, such change in view should be communicated through legal representatives to the other side without delay and when appropriate to the court. Where the expert evidence refers to photographs, plans, calculations, analyses, measurements, survey reports, or other similar documents, these must be provided to the opposite party at the same time as the exchange of reports. I don't know how many times in the days leading up to a case, I might be sent an expert's report from an engineer instructed by another party, and they don't send the photographs or the maps and that sort of thing. It happens all too often, and it's well worthwhile having that included there. So in terms of what are your duties of honesty and objectivity under the Icarian Reefer rules? I've said it already, you have an overriding duty to the court, and it should be firmly implanted into the experts' minds that his or her function, and I'm quoting here from the Law Reform Commission consultation paper on expert evidence, which for those that might be interested in and I've given the reference there at the end of the talk, but that is an absolutely superb book where the Law Reform Commission considered expert evidence. And subsequent to that, then they produced a that was the consultation. Sorry, that was the consultation paper, and then they followed through and they prepared their report. They're all available online, and I've given you the links at the end of this slideshow. So it should be firmly implanted into the expert's mind that his or her function is the provision of unbiased information to the court and not to provide a one-sided opinion preferred by the instructing party. So what level of evidence do you require when you are setting about giving evidence in court? So if we could sort of quote Stephen Coveney and begin with the end in mind. The end in mind is that you want your opinion to be accepted by the judge, and you want to survive and thrive during cross-examination, if you like. And so if you think in terms of standing up to robust cross-examination, and then step back from that and you ask yourself the question, what helps me to do that, right? To prepare a good report helps you to do that. And then what is a good report? A good report is a report that has got well-reasoned opinions in it. And I often think in terms of a good opinion being like the top of a table. I'm sitting at a table here. It has 4 legs, 1 under each corner. So if I think in terms of the top of the table being like the opinion that I want to offer, and each one of the legs being the each one of the legs representing a reason. Now those reasons can be technical reasons, they can be supported by legislation, or they can be supported by research that's available, that's widely accepted. So if you can get 3 or 4 very good reasons for every opinion, you have a much better chance of having your opinion accepted by the court. Then how do you put that report together? To do that, you need to do an investigation, and your investigation needs to be thorough. And always bear in mind when you're doing an investigation, if you're out on site taking measurements, keep a contemporaneous note of all your measurements. Have photographs. If you're taking photographs, have a drawing to go with your photographs. Show with an arrow pointing in the direction and the position from which you took your photographs. And also, for goodness sake, if you are using equipment to take measurements, make sure that the equipment that you're using is calibrated, because any barrister worth his salt will ask you about the calibration of whatever meter or measuring device that you've used. So here's to quote Jacob L.J. What really matters in most cases are the reasons given for the opinion. As a practical matter, a well-constructed expert's report containing opinion evidence sets out the opinion and the reasons for it. If the reasons stand up, the opinion does. If not, not. Plain and simple. So in terms of level of investigation, the purpose of the investigation, I'll be overlapping here just a little bit. The purpose of the investigation is to provide you with the information to prepare your report. It needs to be thorough so that the conclusions you reach will be based on opinions supported by good reasons. The Law Reform Commission has recommended that there should be a set form and structure for expert reports. They've suggested that the report must be addressed to the court and not to the party or parties from whom instructions have been received. The expert's qualifications and experience should be outlined in detail and relevant certificates of proof attached. The terms and conditions of the appointment of the expert witness, including payment arrangements, should be explained. That's very important because, you know, if the payment arrangement for your expert witness is based on the outcome of the case, sure, that certainly creates a bias in the mind of the expert. If potential conflict of interest arises, the facts relating to this should be stated. Obviously, you don't want to find yourself working for a company if you've already worked for that company in the past, or, you know, against the company, and that you have found information on previous cases that could be used in this case, and you could find yourself in all sorts of trouble of confidentiality and that. So if in doubt, my recommendation is out. If in doubt, out. If you feel that there's a conflict of interest can either be real or perceived. And if you're uncomfortable and if there's a doubt in your mind, don't take on the case. All information relating to the issue, including that which is capable of detracting from the expert's opinion, should be identified. And all means all. In other words, all written and oral. All material instructions, written and oral, which were given to the expert and on the basis of which the report was written, must be outlined. And all means all. I remember one time I was in conversation with a client who had an accident, and in the middle of the conversation, the client says to me, well, now between yourself and myself, you know, and I don't want this going anywhere. Well, I cut that conversation off straight away, because this was a serious conversation that was preparing me for for the preparation of my report. And all means all material instructions. So there's no such thing as having side conversations with people about things that are that serious. And all materials used by the expert in coming to the opinion, clearly distinguishing between matters of fact and matters of opinion. If subsequent to the preparation of a report, an expert changes his or her opinion on any material issue in the report, the expert witness must state this in the supplementary report, and then a signed declaration that the contents of the report are true and that the expert understands the overriding duty owed to the court, and that the report has been created in compliance with this. So then, do you just rely on what you're being given or told, or how much further should you go? Questions you should ask yourself include, you know, what truly are the allegations which concern me? Do they define as what I see as the true issues? In other words, it's very important to be a good listener, to listen to what you're being told, but more importantly, to listen out for what you're not being told, what's being hidden here. And you try and dig deep to make sure that and you have to put yourself in the situation in cross-examination where the barrister on the other side is going to try and hit you with sidewinders and search your evidence to see how strong it is. And he will ask you questions. Why didn't you consider other issues? So if you don't make a real good effort to try and define what you see as the true issues are, then you can be sure of one thing: the barrister that's going to cross-examine you will. Are they within my areas of expertise? Have I studied all the witness statements and disclosed documents to ascertain the facts? And do you think that there are other documents out there that, you know, you feel that you should have been given? And if you feel you should, then you ask. Have I made all appropriate factual observations of bodies, places, machines, buildings, accounts, etc.? This talk is a generic talk, but the principles apply to all professions. There could be quantity surveyors, there could be physiotherapists, there could be meteorological experts, there could be engineers, architects, actuaries, you know, but the principles are the same. The expertise is different. Have I specified for myself the assumptions that I shall rely on so clearly that if challenged, I can detail them and identify all my sources? I think it's very useful to try and spend a little bit of time visualizing yourself under cross-examination in the days leading up to a case, and try and preempt the questions that the barrister cross-examining you is going to ask you, and see have you got those answers ready, and try and think about what the expert on the other side is going to say, and try and preempt what he's going to say, and then see how you would answer those questions. It's like playing a match, really. You have to feel a little bit of tension, I think, going into, not too much, but you know, you have to be fired up, and you have to be prepared, and you have to be thinking. And you know, in the days leading up to a big case, try and think through all these things and try and see all the various arguments that can be put to you. But at that stage, you should have your work done anyway. Have I prepared my report in simple, intelligible English using as few technical words as I can, explaining those that necessarily remain? What, if any, do I see as the points of challenge to my observations, assumptions, and conclusions, and what, if any, are the answers to them? And since the expert is not an advocate, but must inform the mind of the court fully, not partially, have I improperly omitted anything relevant? That's very important, and people can get into trouble. So let's say you suspect that your client is fraudulent or exaggerating the claim. What you should do? What should you do? What should you do? Okay, look, fraud is out there. we all wish it wasn't there. There's a tendency for people to exaggerate claims. We wish they didn't, right? But you might suspect it. But I would say you're not a judge. You're not a jury. You're an expert, right? You might suspect something, but you might be wrong, right? And I have here an article from the Limerick Leader dated the 13th of February 2021, where a judge ordered the return of cash to a hard-working coalman, because what happened was that the Gardaí put an application seeking forfeiture of 70,000 from this person. They visited his home. They found bundles of money wrapped in socks in a safe in his home. And they had suspicions about the source of the money. So the case went to court anyway, and the judge said, and he actually gave me the answer that I needed to answer this question about your role if you suspect fraud or exaggerated claims. He said that the state's case was replete with suspicion, and he added that suspicion alone is not proof. So the man got his 70,000 back. Now, here's what I would suggest if you suspect fraud or exaggerated claims. Suspicion alone is not proof. We're going to take that as read in that article. Keep an accurate, contemporaneous record of all instructions, written and oral. And then be aware of and apply your professional organization's code of ethics. Most professions have a code of ethics. I'll come to just one little snippet out of Engineers Ireland in a minute, just to make the point. Never do or say anything that you're not comfortable with. No. I'm going to dwell on this for a little bit. And I make a point of saying this to younger people setting out in their careers when I give this talk. Not too far from now, somebody will ask you to say something or do something or sign something that you're not comfortable with. When that happens, not if it happens, but when it happens, and if you're not comfortable, say no. And when you say no, I want you to bring your mind back to this moment on the 25th of February, when I told you it was going to happen. And I do not want you to feel alone. I want you to feel confident. And I want you to feel delighted that you have said no, because, you know, there are many professionals, I think, in the audience tonight. You have all worked very hard for the careers that you have, and you can lose it in all one moment, letting your guard down in one stupid moment. A lot of people have been found out. A lot of professional people have, the news is on at 9 o'clock every night, and you come across cases where people have been found out because they let their guard down, they let their integrity slip, and it ruins them. Coming with a clean pair of hands, we've heard that said often enough. You are not a hired gun. I keep saying it. I gave a talk like this way back in 1995. I used the term hired gun. Since then, lots have been written about expert witnesses that haven't done a very good job. And the message I want to get out is that you're not a hired gun. And diligently apply the Icarian Reefer principles. If you use those as your principles, as your 7 commandments for expert witnesses, as I call them, you won't go far wrong. Now, in terms of insurance, just staying on the fraud and that sort of thing, I just took these 2 very, very similar clauses out of insurance policies. And it says, if any claim notified under this policy shall be in any way fraudulent, or if the fraudulent means or devices, right? Think about your moisture meters and your devices for measuring rainfall and all the rest of it, are they properly calibrated? So if any fraudulent means or devices are used by the policyholder, and then it goes on, or anyone acting on its behalf. So that includes the expert witness. To obtain benefit under this insurance, all benefit hereunder shall be forfeited. And then there's another very similar one that I just put in there out of another policy. I mentioned codes of ethics. Engineers Ireland says members shall not engage in conduct which is dishonest or illegal, or which may bring Engineers Ireland or the profession into disrepute, or may prejudice Engineers Ireland or the profession. I'd say think about yourself first and your own professionalism. If you think about your own professionalism first, you have a better chance of protecting your client and all around you. You know, you have to think of your professionalism first. Cross-examination. Okay, this is where, you know, you've delivered your evidence under direct examination to the court, and now the barrister on the other side is going to get up and he's going to try and have a cut at you. So he's going to try and show that your information and opinions are inaccurate or unreliable. He's going to try and elicit information that's helpful to his side's case. And you should expect searching questions, attacks on your credibility as an expert, attacks on your expert opinion. And you should always remember it's an adversarial system. The cross-examining barrister is only doing his or her job, and the purpose of your evidence is to be tested. And then, you know, they play games with you, right? They try and distract you. They have a toolbox, as I call it. They try and get you to agree to absolutes. Now, there are very few absolutes in life. For instance, if you're asked, are you sure that a measurement is 2 meters? And you say, absolutely. Are you sure it's not 1.95 meters? Well, yeah, well, nearly 2 meters. Or are you sure it's not less? He'll try and bring you down from the absolute, you know, and then when he drags you down from the absolute, he starts to undermine your evidence. There was a case, there was at the launch of the expert evidence report by the Law Reform Commission, Judge Ryan told a story about an expert witness who was asked a question, and he was asked, are you absolutely sure about that? And the expert responded, no, Judge, but it's highly probable. You know, he was in a civil action on the basis of probability. You know, he didn't get himself, he didn't fall into the trap of answering in absolutes, if you like. Asking you to speak up, looking at you with disbelief, being sarcastic, being silent, interrupting you, pretending to be confused, a direct attack on your ability, passing notes to colleagues, repeating earlier questions, picking up on typos in your report, getting your name wrong, focusing on irrelevant points, running questions together, attacking your qualifications, comparing you to other experts. You know, he might say, my expert is qualified in this, that, and the other thing, and here you are, and maybe you're just setting out in your career. What I'd say to you is, you know, everybody has to start somewhere. The other fellow might have grayer hair and talk slower and all the rest of it. But if your opinion is supported by good reasons, forget about the opposition then and play your own game. You know, deliver your own evidence. You have done your research. You have your reasons. You offer your opinion. And a lot of teams lose matches because they look at the strengths of the other side. The only win you want when you give evidence is for your opinion to be accepted by the judge. The outcome of the case is not your business. You know, you just offer your opinion honestly, without doing it in an objective way, and hoping that you've done enough, that you've been honest and professional, good reasons, and the judge accepts your evidence. So under cross-examine, be friendly, warm, and helpful, maintain good eye contact, listen to and understand the question, stay calm, direct your answer to the judge, and see every question as an opportunity to put forward the strongest points in your evidence. And again, I come back to the visualization in the days before the case. Now, I'm very nearly finished. How do you assess a good expert witness? I put this table together about 7 or 8 years ago. We had a mock trial in Limerick, what they call a moot court. And we had 2 experts, 2 engineers. It was an accident case. And we had about 50 people in attendance. Judge Tom O'Donnell presided over it. We had real barristers, real solicitors, and real engineers. And we had an actress who was brilliant. She was the plaintiff in the case. So the nature of the case was read out anyway at the start of it. And I asked people to just try and predict from what they had heard at that stage, what was the outcome did they think the case would be, and to judge it in favour of the plaintiff or the defendant, or a percentage in favour of the plaintiff with contributory negligence. And then the case went on and the experts gave their evidence, and then I asked them to assess them on the basis of 20 questions and give a percentage, give a mark of 5 out of 5 for each question. And the questions I put together are: was the expert appropriately addressed? Was he or she respectful when taking the oath or making the affirmation? Was he or she composed? Demonstrate good listening skills? Maintain good eye contact throughout? Were his or her responses to questions clear? Talk to the judge, try and explain to the judge, create a kind of a, try and really help the judge. Appear confident, demonstrate a good attitude. Was it evident that the expert was well prepared? Were there good authentic references to support each opinion? Credible, impartial, independent? Was it clear that he or she had a good understanding of the issues at hand? Had they had the ability not to take things personally? Had they preempted the questions? And did he or she maintain control during cross-examination? And did he or she manage to get the message that he or she wanted to get across? And in summary then, did he or she assist the court? So, and you could use that in preparation for any case that you'd be involved in yourself. And there may be questions that you think are useless there. So take out one question and put in a question that you think might be better for you. And it's a good idea as well for those setting out in this business to visit the courts, see other sort of well-established experts give their evidence. They don't go in fighting, they go in and they give their opinions, and they just try and do a good job. Sorry, let's go back there. Yeah. So then I asked them to predict what the outcome of the case would be before the judge gave his judgment, and then the judgment came out. And then one other question I'd ask is, could either expert have done more before the case to help the case to settle? There is a responsibility under the direction of the legal people and the court system as well, for sometimes experts to meet and try and narrow the issues between them. Now, I've a couple of messages. One, people can be nervous before giving evidence, and the best way to get rid of those nerves is focus on the message. If you focus on the message, you get your ego out of the way, and you're there and you're intent on helping the judge to make a good decision. So focus on that, your nerves will dissipate, to a large extent. And I'm going to just repeat my final message again. Never, ever, ever do anything or say anything or sign anything that you're not comfortable with. So that's what I've got to offer. And thank you very much for listening to me. And I don't know whether I did it within 20 minutes or not, but there you go.
Thanks, John. That's really, you covered quite a lot of ground there in quite a short period of time, really. And it's really interesting. Sure, lots of people weren't really aware there was such a thing maybe as an expert witness, and that their role is to just, inform the court really, and not to be appearing for a particular side. So now if we just move on ahead to the second part, which is, Wilhelmine, if you can unmute yourself, or I will unmute you.
Yep, hello.
Yeah, so good evening, Wilhelmine, and welcome to our session. For those of you who don't know Wilhelmine works as a meteorologist in Met Éireann. She's been in Met Éireann for, I think, close or just about 20 years at this stage. At present, her main task really is in preparing reports for weather-related incidents, and also then bringing these reports and presenting them at court as an expert witness. So just to give a crossover from John's very interesting talk to how we apply this actually in the world of meteorology. So firstly, Wilhelmine, could you just outline what range of queries do you get in Met Éireann that are people looking for legal reports?
Okay, thank you. Seamus, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. For
Yeah,
sure.
okay, thank you very much. And first of all, thank you very much to John Garrett for the talk. It was really good and it is really helpful for obviously for everyone and that you are sharing this information. So that's great. So to answer your question, Seamus, Met Éireann, we provide weather reports for the legal profession. So there is insurance companies and we get requests from solicitors and a lot from An Garda Síochána as well. So annually, I would say that we get 300 to 400 requests for legal reports. And of those, around 40 to 60 would proceed to per year would proceed to court, and a meteorologist would be ready and prepared to go to attend court, either to be on standby or to to attend court and to give evidence and your opinion of the weather conditions at the accident.
And of course, it looks like it's the case then that you don't know if a particular case is going to go to court or not. So all of these reports, these 300 to 400, they all have to be prepared with the same level of diligence that John was outlining in his. So that's quite an undertaking. About how long would it take you to compile a report? Or would they just cover one particular event, say, you know, a road traffic accident maybe is a particular event at a particular time, or would it be perhaps, you know, during a storm or a ship in transit, something like that?
There's lots of those indeed, as you explain them there. So the reports, the standard reports, that most requests would be for road traffic accidents, and they would then be a standard report for around 3 hours around the time of the accident, and it is specifically for the location. So we actually on met.ie we have a request form, and the solicitor can type in the latitude and longitude of where the accident occurred and the time, the date and time where the accident occurred. And we would then take those details and analyze all the data that we have available in Met Éireann. So the data that we look at is the observations, obviously, of the official stations. We have the entire network of synoptic stations, the hourly data, and then also we analyze the synoptic charts and satellite data and radar data, all to compile that together into that one report with that in mind. And I really like John's explanation of seeing it as a table, a table with 4 legs, that you have to really make sure that you've covered all the areas thoroughly to make sure that what is stated in the report, that you stand over that in court. And yes, so yeah.
Yeah, so again, you mentioned there, and John also mentioned in his talk too, about the, you know, if you're using equipment, making sure it's calibrated. And, you know, say for example, you're talking about the simplest type of case possibly, which is a road accident case, you're almost certainly not going to have an observation exactly where the accident occurred. So is this then where you have to move from kind of the fact of an observation nearby and then an opinion as to what it was like where the accident actually occurred?
Yeah, that's right, and I think we make it very clear in the report that it is an estimate. So that's the statement of the headline, or the heading of my report says that it is an estimate of the weather conditions at this location at this date and time. So in a way, that covers that, because we never ever have a location exactly at the time, at a meteorological station exactly at the location of the accident. So and that is accepted, but sometimes that would then be questioned at cross-examination, and it was just interesting to hear from John the tricks of the barristers. So yes, I have seen all those tricks, and it can be really, really daunting to sit there. But it is good now, and as soon as you've done a few, that to realize that those are the tricks, and my duty is to the judge and to stay calm. And what I find really helpful is that you obviously listen to the questions from the solicitors, from the barrister, from senior counsel, and then the judge and then I can answer that question to the judge by speaking to the judge and really relaying my expert opinion to the judge, and not get too distracted, because there is sometimes lots of yes.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, sorry, I can't really. Maybe John can help me out here. What is the trick that that the barristers sometimes do? It's strange to.
Yeah, they just try and distract you sometimes, and they'll try even harder if they think you're getting somewhere, you know.
Right. Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
trying to diffuse you to tackle you while you're on a run, you know.
Mm.
And so just William, just before opening up to more general type questions, does it ever happen then, you know, where, so for example, in John's case, he's a company and people come to him, or barristers or solicitors would come to his company, but Medern is kind of the only, so for example, if John is in a court case, the opposite side might have a report from a different engineer, but in the case of Medern, there isn't any other entity providing weather reports. So do we ever have a situation where, you know, two sides of the same case would look for a weather report? And what do you do in a situation like that?
So it does occasionally occur. We have it very clearly stated on our website, in our terms and conditions, that we treat every request for a weather report in confidence. So we would create the report for both parties. If it then comes to court, we do make it clear that Medern provides the service as a single joint expert. I do believe that sometimes there have been cases, I have heard of cases in Ireland as well, where another party has obtained the services from another Met service or from another weather provider. So that it has not occurred to me, or I was not there, but I can imagine that could happen where there is another meteorological expert, but it wouldn't be the case that there is two different experts from Medern. We wouldn't be providing the expert and then having two meteorologists against each other. It's a single joint, and that is also explained in the law reform documents that John was referring to, that the single joint expert is what Medern always have provided in the past, and we continue to do that. Yes.
I'm just going to actually ask John about that, because he would have more generic type of case. Like, can the judge instruct that there would be, say, an agreed report? For example, if you're presenting an engineer's report and the opposition or the other side have one as well, can the judges say, look, you guys, you experts have to agree on something?
Yeah, they can. And you've asked a question there that actually gives an opportunity to answer that question, plus a few others, right? In that the judge can instruct that the engineers meet, and can instruct them to narrow the issues. In other words, come back with a report between them that says, we have disagreed, but we cannot agree on this, and this. You know, at least they've tried to narrow the issues. And then the judge can actually have what they call a debate among experts, or as other legal people would call it, putting them in a hot tub. In other words, to in front of the judge, debate their various stands on it, their various opinions on it. Yeah. And then they can continue on with examination and re-examination and all that sort of stuff. But I've actually never been thrown into a hot tub, but it can be done.
Yes.
The judge can also direct that an expert be appointed to advise the court, and then that report can be given to both sides, and that expert can be challenged by both sides. So the judge can do pretty much what the judge wants to do, you know, in terms of preparing for a case. The other question that arises there is that there was a case, and it's about the immunity of expert witnesses, right? And immunity, there was a case called Jones versus Caney in England, where I used to have it off by heart, but I have some of the detail forgotten on it. But I think it was a psychiatrist in the preparation of a joint report conceded that her client had overstated the case, right? In other words, exaggerated it. No, I may have my words wrong here, but anyway. So the plaintiff had to settle for a lesser sum than would otherwise have been got. And after the plaintiff settled, he went after the expert psychiatrist because he had to accept less money, and succeeded. So in that case, that actually did away with immunity of expert witnesses in England. Now, there is a recommendation from the Law Reform Commission that the immunity of expert witnesses only apply, or the lack of immunity, the other way is the way I mean to say it, apply where there's gross negligence, if you like. So what I would say to anybody giving expert evidence is assume you can be sued, right? And work as though you're working for a client outside of court. If you're delivering a professional service, you can be sued. So if you're delivering a service for a client who's going to court, assume you can be sued, even though it's very hard for them to do it. But it's been done in England, so it's gone there. So it may only be a matter of time before it goes here. I don't know, you know. But the fact what happens over in England kind of follows on here, you know.
I just run through a few quick questions from the floor. Fintan Ryan, an interesting question. Before you agree to be an expert witness, do you check on the ability of the leading barrister?
A lot of the barristers, yeah, a lot of the barristers, first of all, it's usually the solicitor will come to you. The ability of the leading barrister, well, I don't check on the ability of the leading barrister, I'll put it that way. I just do my job, and I try and help the barrister to do his job as well. You see, the barristers, some people think that the expert knows more than the barrister and the judge, but actually the judge could have done hundreds of these cases, and the barristers kind of, you know, if it's personal injury accidents, they've done hundreds and hundreds of trip and fall accidents and back injury accidents and all the rest of it. So they know exactly what to ask the experts, you know, and the same names keep on coming up again and again, you know. So I don't interview, or I don't decide to take a case.
Another one here, John.
The barristers can change as well. Like, I mean, they've on and off cases, you know.
Have you often changed your expert opinion after having delivered it?
Having delivered to court.
Well, that's to say that, mind you, Norman has answered. He said yes after further investigations have thrown up more facts. So yeah. One person asked this question, somebody else already answered it.
Yeah. When you say when you delivered it, you mean delivered it in evidence, or do you mean delivered it in your report?
I suspect it's delivered it in a report.
In a report, yeah. I don't think there hasn't been any turnaround, if you like. Yeah. In my opinion, but there was a case. There was a case just a couple of years ago where it was a trip and fall accident, actually, and I met the client out on the ground, herself and her husband, and they were lovely, genuine, honest to God people. And they believed, because they felt that one of them fell and that there was a case to be answered and all the rest of it. But there was this case of malfeasance and nonfeasance arose, right? So in my opinion, they had no case, and I wasn't going to be able to make one. So that came as a huge disappointment to the person involved. So, but I had to let them down gently, but firmly. And I asked for a meeting with the barrister and the solicitor and the people involved in the accident, or the person involved in her.
And another one here, John. How frequent is the use of expert witnesses in Irish courts?
Very frequent. I think there are two things to be established in a civil action. One is the matter of liability, and that's where a lot of the time engineers would be involved. In other words, is there a case to be answered? And if there is, you know, what's the liability aspect of it? And then the doctors and the physiotherapists and the actuaries and the quantity surveyors would come in, and they'd have a role more to do with the quantum. In other words, how much would the plaintiff get? So it's very common. It's very, very common in personal injuries accidents. It's a lot of the time you'd have them in construction disputes as well. You'll have them in boundary disputes, and I'd much prefer to see a lot of those boundary disputes go to mediation rather than litigation, because judges don't like deciding cases when it comes to people and their boundaries, because the judge decides a winner, he decides a loser, but in deciding a winner and deciding a loser, you're leaving somebody hurt, and the situation kind of can get worse. So a mediated outcome to a boundary dispute is far better, because people will come up with a solution themselves with help from the mediator, with a solution that will help them to live with what they've come up with, rather than somebody saying, I'm the judge here and this is my decision, you know.
Right, just a few more quick ones. How would you counter a claim you believe to be dubious without full proof?
How would you counterclaim?
Counter a claim you believe to be dubious without full proof.
Okay. I think you've got to, if there's a claim coming through, and they have their statement of claim. I'm getting into the legal area of this now, maybe I shouldn't, but I'll keep going for now. There's a statement of claim, if you like, and there might be 20 points in the statement of claim, and it's a matter of going through each one of them and see what they're saying, and take it point by point and see how you can like, I mean, if somebody says he had an accident at work at 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning, and then you say, well, he wasn't at work at 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning, so you've got to research the time clocks, the timesheets, and say that he wasn't there. Or if he says that, I had a very interesting one, it was a peach actually, where somebody said that he had a chimney blocked 20 years ago. And so I pulled down straws and twigs and birds' nests out of it. And what came with it was a tato bag. And on the tato bag, you have a best before date, which was only about 2 years old, you know. So it was uncanny the way it happened. There was another situation where there was a lock on a gate where somebody said that they had a certain kind of that they were in occupation of land for many, many years. And I actually went on Google Street View, and I could actually, and this is as it happened, I could actually zone in. This is a big padlock on the gate. I could actually zone in on the padlock, and I saw that the point of entry to the padlock was from the bottom, whereas they were saying that the key, that their lock was from the side and all the rest of it, and it just contradicted what they had, and we had the evidence there, and I think they just decided not to fight anymore, you know, and it was just.
Two more, John, because we're getting close to 8 o'clock now. Just very similar, I don't know the answer to this. How can a lay litigant, say in the small claims court, provide or challenge expert witness by themselves? So the small expert witness in the small claims court?
Well, anybody, again, I'm getting into legal, but I saw a good carpenter hammer a chartered engineer, because he knew no more about a ring shank nail that was suitable for use in timber, when the chartered engineer didn't know anything about it. And so it doesn't matter how you gain your expertise. I'd say this with a certain amount of caution now. An expert can become expert by either qualification and or experience. So obviously it helps if you can say you're a chartered engineer and you're this and you're that and you're the other thing, and your kind of credibility is taking a climb up. But, you know, a more experienced person with hands-on information can leave you for dead, like if he knows more about certain things. The lay litigant then, the lay litigant, if a lay litigant knows more about the local knowledge, like if an engineer goes out on site and he measures this and that and the other thing, but he doesn't have the grasp of the local knowledge about the streams where they're running into and where there are certain diversions in the flows and that sort of thing. Local knowledge is huge, and you know, a good farmer could kind of challenge an engineer as a lay litigant on that if he had that bit of experience, you know, growing up on the farm sort of thing. I don't know whether I'm answering your question or not. I'm trying to.
I guess it depends on the circle, you know, on individual circle and individual event that's happening. But I suppose in theory it is possible to do it.
Oh, it is.
If I could just say something on that, is that all right? Just for weather reports, as you just say there, John, the local knowledge is, and obviously there are witnesses on the ground of the accident. And for us in the weather, we compile the weather report based on the information that we have, and it is my opinion and it is an estimate. So it can sometimes occur, and it that the conditions are slightly different from, and then what I understand is that I give my weather report the way I have done it to the best of my ability to the judge, and then it is the judge who then will have to decide how to take that evidence further. Is that correct?
What way to put on your evidence? Yeah, and I think one thing that's very important too, I think, is that objectivity is crucial. Some people feel that it was a question actually that came up with me at the conference we were at a couple of weeks ago. If somebody has acquired knowledge from personal experience, can that be offered to the court? And I think the answer given to it was, while it can be offered, you need to be very careful that that you're not seen as being partisan, or that you're not sort of fighting because of, we'll say if you had a situation, a difficult situation yourself that you were trying to deal with, and a client of yours had the same difficulty and you were trying to offer your opinions based on the experience of the difficulties that you had yourself, you might be over exuberant, and the judge might decide that that there's a certain amount of unintended, if you like, bias in it, or you know, so it's important to make sure that there's not that kind of conflict for you, I think, as well, you know.
Yep.
And one final question, it's from Maureen McCann, who's joining us from Florida, and that is, do expert witnesses in Ireland have a certification?
No. The situation is that
I might just add in that in America, in the US, the American Meteorological Society offers a CCM seal, a certified consulting meteorologist seal. So there you go.
Yep.
There's nothing like that in Ireland.
No, but what's being recommended by the Law Reform Commission is that there should be a code of practice for expert witnesses, which could either be statutory or not statutory. I think there's a yearning to have more training for expert witnesses. The definition of an expert witness has been bandied around quite a bit. It's more judicial commentary than it is a clear definition, if you like. The best definition I can come up with is, or I'm going from what I've read, is that somebody that appears to the court to have expertise not held by the judge, if you know.
Okay.
So I think if before the Law Reform Commission report was published, I went up and I met the commissioner. I had a conversation with them because I wanted a situation to develop where there was pressure taken off experts, that there was a clearer understanding of what was expected of experts by people that needed the experts, by the solicitors instructing them, and the barristers and the experts themselves, so that, you know, everybody was working from the same plain sheet of paper, if you like, a blank canvas.
Yeah.
And you know, it has been said to me on an occasion that remember who's paying your fee, right? Now, I kind of just didn't take any notice of it, but that person had the expectation, because if he's paying your fee, you'll kind of do as I say, kind of crack, you know. So that doesn't happen, can't happen.
Okay, John, I think we'll wrap up there. That's been really interesting. And just for everybody, if you could just perhaps unmute and give John and Wilhelmine the usual round of applause. Thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure discussing, preparing for this. For those of you who don't know what went on behind, John has been very, very generous with his time, and he's put a lot of time and effort into ensuring that the talk would be suitable for the audience, because he's more used to speaking to engineers. So a very big thank you to John, and also a very big thank you to Wilhelmine. And so we'll wrap up there, and just a reminder to you all that membership is due. Membership just costs €1 for 2021. You can pay via our website. We will be having another talk in a month's time, the last week in April. So keep in touch with us for that. Conor, do you have anything that you'd like to add before we sign off? No, don't think so.
Nope,
Yes?
nope, I don't. Thanks, Seamus. It's brilliant. Really enjoyed the talk. Thanks, everyone, for all the hard work you put in to give us such a great entertainment this evening.
Okay.
Thank you, Wilhelmine. Thank you, Seamus. Thank you all.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Thank you.